How's it? IndianCowboy.sports.com. Hope you guys are doing well. Live show Friday, September 23rd. Let's discuss a bunch of games here and talk to you about a bunch of games here. I hope you guys are doing great. Um, Go ahead and toss the games that you want to talk about, and I'll be happy to discuss them. And we'll get to it. And of course, it's a podcast, so you can re-listen to it at any time as well. Hope you guys are doing well. Hop on there for me and post the games, and we'll get straight to it. So, hope your Friday is going well. Love you, man. Thoughts on Oregon State? Short. So let's start. We'll start with the Oregon State game first. Let's see here. The Oregon State game. It's an interesting game. So they're favored by, or they're dogged by 3.5 or 5.5 points. We're going to see how Lincoln Riley does in his second conference game, right? So they have covered all three games, 66-14, 41-28, and 45-17. Oregon State beat this team 45-27 last year, which is interesting. Oregon State's a good team. They beat Middle Tennessee State 68-28. They beat Fresno 35-32, beat Boise 34-17. Oregon State's consistently gotten better, and they have good coaching in Oregon State as well, with Jonathan Smith as their head coach. The totals for USC has been 71, 66, and 61. Totals for Oregon State have been 56, 58, and 56. This is the smallest spread that USC has faced. I want you to notice how the total sits at 70. I think Oregon State will be an active dog this game, and this might be our free play on Saturday. I think it's going to be a nut. It's an absolute nutty game. I think it's going to be crazy. If USC Stanford was 41-28, and Oregon State dropped 34 on Boise State, I think what you're going to see is this game go over the posted total, frankly. So I like Oregon State and USC over for your game number one. Let me make sure that is not one of our premium football plays. If I did, then I slipped up. Let me make sure what our premium football plays are. Browns, Steelers, Arkansas A&M, Colts, Chiefs. Yeah, it's not one of our plays. So there you go. Moving on here. Hey, Drew, good to see you. Auburn and Missouri. So for the Auburn-Missouri game, let's see. Auburn, 7.5 point chalk, total of 51.5. Game, people think it's going to go under. Missouri is 2-1, not a bad team at all. Auburn is 2-1. Auburn, these two teams haven't met since 2017, when Auburn shellacked this team 51-14. Missouri won 34-17 against Alcorn State. They had a really bad game against Kansas State, losing 12-40, beat Louisiana Tech. They have UGA on deck. Auburn has LSU on deck, comes off an ugly loss to Penn State after having only being a 2-point dog. Beat San Jose State 24-16, beat Mercer 42-16. How does Auburn bounce back? 51-48 and 48. Auburn's offense looked horrendous against Penn State, just 12 points. Missouri's defense gave up 40 to Kansas State. Their defense is not very good. So I think the ability of Auburn to bounce back on offense after scoring 12 points, I think the ability of the frustration of Auburn wanting to bounce back and Missouri wanting to bounce back and being an active dog possibly. I like the over between Auburn and Missouri for game number 2. Hey, I see. What are you drinking today? Astros versus Orioles? Yeah, I'm drinking. I'll show you what I'm drinking. Give me a second. I'm drinking Mike's Hard Black Cherry Lemonade. It's good stuff, right? Happy Friday to you guys. But game number 3 here, Astros Orioles. Let me see if make sure. I can't give you Astros Orioles actually, because that's our premium baseball play. It's our 4-unit play. But hit me up on another game and I'll be happy to talk about it. Yeah, I see. Hey, Jacob, good to see you. Drew, good to see you, man. Caples, Braves, Phillies. Yeah, so Braves Phillies. It was on our regular video. I won't count this as one of our games, but I'm on Philadelphia. Lean on Philadelphia. Nola has lost to the Braves twice. I think he bounces back. He went 7-7-4 against Atlanta last time, coming off a loss. Jake Odorizzi, went 4-2-1 against Philadelphia, 3-5-4 against Seattle. Jake just beat Philadelphia as well for Atlanta, so I think Philadelphia gets to him. They have a little bit of revenge, and I think Aaron Nola is going to bounce back because he's lost to the Braves now twice as well. Okay. South Florida versus Louisville. Sure. So South Florida versus Louisville. Totals at 64.5. By the way, be sure to give this video a like if you enjoy the content. But South Florida versus Louisville. And we also have 5 extra football plays left. We're 1-0 on the week with the Browns win. South Florida lost to Florida 28-31 as a 23-point dog. That was impressive. They beat Howard. They lost to BYU. They're 1-2 to open. Louisville lost a tough game to FSU 31-35. They got Boston College on deck. Beat UCF 20-14. Louisville's actually been better than advertised, and so has South Florida, to be honest with you. 58, 61, 58 were the 3 totals for South Florida. All 3 of them went over. When I looked at this game, I thought originally I liked the sort of like the under right off the bat. And when the total came out at 64-65, I was like, But South Florida at the end of the day, I think has to get your respect because they only lost to Florida 28-31. And it's not bad. And that's not bad. And Louisville, at the end of the day, comes off a loss to FSU, and they beat UCF 20-14. Louisville, of course, has the ability to put up a lot of points, but you got to take a look closer too. This is the highest total that either of these teams faced. So the total came out much larger than I expected. I look a little closer. I like the fact that South Florida could be an active dog. I like the fact that Louisville is going to be really ticked off from losing to FSU, especially on national television. So I wouldn't be surprised if both these teams ratchet up their offensive prowess, if you will, and this game goes over between South Florida and Louisville. So I like the over between those 2 teams. And by the way, I will definitely give you a full recap of all the games at the end of this video as well. All right. Moving on here. Hey, Drew, Raiders versus Titans. Let me make sure that's not a premium play. And it is not a premium play. So the Raiders versus the Titans. You have a Tennessee team that's 0-2. It's a 1.5 point dog. And you have a Raiders team that's 0-2 as well. Typically, when 2 0-2 teams get together, I always seem to like the over because I just think there's so much frustration between both these teams. The Raiders haven't been good. They lost 23-29 to Arizona in overtime. They lost 19-24. That was a game that they were leading, and then they lost. Tennessee comes off a 7-41 loss to Buffalo. They lost 20-21 against the Giants. The Raiders totals have been at 53 and 53 both times, and they both went under, including the last one, which went to overtime, and they went under. You have 2 frustrated, really, teams here. Tennessee coming off giving up 41 points in their last game. I also think that the Raiders are frustrated because they ended up giving up 23 points in the second half, including 16 points to Arizona in the fourth quarter. And I think both these teams have to bounce back on the defensive side, especially since Tennessee just gave up 41 points to Buffalo, and Mike Vrabel is a defensive-minded coach. So I like Las Vegas, Tennessee under the posted total as well. And that is your 4th game. Let's see if we can do one more game, maybe 2 more games here. Hey, I see UTEP and Boise tonight. Yeah, so the UTEP Boise State game. Let's see. Yeah, so that's tonight at 9 o'clock. I looked at this game earlier, and I like the under. I think the only way that this game goes is probably the under. The only way UTEP keeps up with Boise State is through their defense. UTEP held, Oklahoma to 45 points, and I know that sounds crazy, but that's not bad. They held New Mexico State to 13. They held New Mexico to 27. You have a Boise State team that gave up 14 to New Mexico and 7 points to Tennessee Martin. They have San Diego State on deck, which is a more important game. So I feel like they're going to take an early lead and then just sort of sit on this game because they have much bigger fish to fry next week against a pretty decent San Diego State team, or at least one who can always step up at any time. So I like Boise State UTEP under the posted total for your 5th game. And for your 6th and last game, the Stanford game, according to, hey, Rob, good to see you. So yeah, so total is at was this what time? Is this Saturday? Yeah. So the total's at Stanford comes in at 1-1 and Washington at 3-0. Stanford, of course, lost to this team last year, 20-13. Stanford comes off a 28-41 loss to USC. Beat Colgate, lost 14-45 against Notre Dame. They have Oregon on deck. Washington has UCLA on deck. They won 39-28 against Michigan State, which was a big win for them. That was at home. They beat Portland State. They beat Kent as well. 62, 55, 56 were the three totals. Stanford comes off 41 points against USC. Stanford coming off an ugly loss. Washington coming off a huge win. I think I can see Stanford kind of hanging tough coming off that big loss because at the end of the day, they are 1-1. So this will put them at under 500. And coming off of that bad loss in a conference game, the USC game wasn't a bad game for them in the sense that, they were actually, they obviously they were down 35-14 at the half. And then they kind of made it respectable at the end. But it was ugly, right? In the sense that they jumped out on too early. So I would lean on Stanford and maybe the under. But if I had to pick a side, I would pick Stanford. I just think they were so embarrassed in the first half. They probably play a little better here. So your 6 leans here. Oregon State, USC over, Auburn, Missouri over, South Florida, Louisville over, Las Vegas, Tennessee in the NFL under, Boise State, UTEP under, and the Stanford Cardinal are your 6 games today. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you found that useful. If you want a more detailed analysis on the 6 leans that I just gave you, just watch the video. It's all there. Hope you guys are doing well. And great to catch a live show. Falcons finally pick a win. I certainly hope so, man. And I will try to get to your all your other games maybe sometime tonight, maybe at 9:30 when we do another live show. So hope you guys are doing well. I hope you appreciate the fact that we just kind of do 6 games, but and we always try to do a live show as well. So be sure to check out some of the other live show yesterday. I had some good thoughts there as well. But yeah, hope you guys are doing well and enjoyed it. Indian Cat working hard for you every single day. Join us for our football card this week. Join us for our baseball selection. NHL around the corner, back-to-back winning seasons there. Plus 12,500. And I'll see you back here tonight probably. Take care.